Hey guys, it's Kaelin from The Fred Show on 103.5 KISS FM, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is super important to me as well as everyone at the station. And I'm about to speak to Deanna, who is, amongst many things, a beautiful, strong woman who is currently battling breast cancer. And she was kind enough to offer to share her story with us. So we're going to talk to her.
I was just diagnosed in August. And so when I found out, like, part of me, because I'm sarcastic, so part of me was like, who
Me too.
gets breast cancer during a pandemic? So that is just one of the many things that have been happening. So it just seems like there's like one stressor on top of another. So I am dealing with it as best as we can, still trying to find the hope and the joy and just the small things in life to enjoy.
So
Yeah,
you're going through it right now. I apologize. I don't know why I thought you were a survivor, but you are going to be a survivor. I
yes.
have faith. Maybe that was my psychic abilities coming through. So what does going through the pandemic mean in terms of being someone who has a compromised immune system or who is going through treatment or, all of that? What does that mean for you? Because I know some people are like, they only think about themselves and how it affects them, but what does it mean for you?
So I think part of it, especially when I go through chemo soon, I'm going to have to be very cautious about where I am. That's one of the things that my husband really wanted to know from the oncologist is about any kind of data or any kind of research that we have any now about like doing chemo right now in the context of this pandemic. And so I'm going to have to be really careful. I still wear my mask right now just because I am thoughtful of myself and other people. And I hope that other people could also be thoughtful because it's not just about them sometimes. Because I know that I'm going to have a compromised immune system, and so I'm going to have to be very thoughtful about where I am, who I'm around, how often I actually go out, and it's going to be difficult to do that because I still have an actual job that I have to do sometimes. So it's going to be I don't even know what it's going to be like because I think I'm supposed to start chemo in almost like 3 weeks, so we'll see.
Okay. So whatever you're comfortable with sharing, can you kind of walk me through your story of finding out and what that process was like, or how you even knew, to go in for your checkup, all that stuff? I mean, can you walk me through that?
I surely can. So one of the things is I am 35, so I'm still very young. And so I am still too young to actually go and get a mammogram. So I didn't, that's not how I found out. So maybe in late March or early April, I found a lump on my left breast, like myself. And I was like, oh, so maybe it's just like, it's nothing serious. So then later on in July, I was like, let me see if it's still there. And it was still there. And it seemed like it grew a little and it seemed like it got harder. And I'm like, oh, this does not sound good at all. And so, at the request and annoyance of some of my friends and my husband, I was like, let me make an appointment with my primary care physician. So, I made an appointment with my primary care physician. She then ordered the mammogram and the biopsy. And so, I remember when I went to go get a mammogram, and they were like, okay, so come into the dressing room and change your clothes. I did that. And I sat down and I was waiting for them to come and get me. Like, at that moment, I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah. You can have a sense for that stuff.
And I think that was like myself preparing for the bad news before it even, I'm like, something just doesn't.
Well, first of all, thank goodness for your husband and your friends that were being pushy. I mean, you're young. Actually, it's crazy because I'm 29 and it runs in my family a ton. And my mom just said to me, you're going to have to start a little bit earlier. And I have to be honest, like, I don't do checks on myself, but we're supposed to. I mean, this is a great reminder to monitor.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And did your husband notice anything, or it was more so you?
So it was me that I noticed that there was a lump there, but so as soon as I noticed it, I'm like, can you feel this? Like, does it feel like something? And
right.
Like, yeah, it does feel like something there. And so, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So there's a physical aspect of going through, treatment and having cancer, but there's also, in terms of mental health, where are you at? How are you dealing with all of this. I mean, that's important too.
And so so this might have been the one way that God has prepared me for all of this too at the same time. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. So it
Wow.
is my job to sit here and think about mental health. I'm also a professor in a marriage and family therapy program. So I teach this stuff all the time. And so I have acknowledged all of my feelings around this. So when I have to
Mhm.
cry, I cry. Then I potentially put my feelings back in a box so I can go get my work done. And then I take them right back out as soon as so I don't stuff them in. So I take them right back out and I cry if I need to cry. I reach out for help when I need to reach out for help. And so I think some of my friends and family assumed that I would be more distraught than I actually am right now. Um, but I have people in my family that have breast cancer that are in their
Mhm.
70s that are still thriving, that are still working, that are still up. I have other uncles in my family that have cancer and they're still up and
Mhm.
working and thriving. And so when I got diagnosed, and I'll tell you about that, like when I heard about it, I'll tell you about that in a minute too.
Yes.
It didn't seem life threatening to me because I
Okay.
still have people in my family that are up and about. So it, I'm not distraught because it doesn't, I've never thought that I was going to die from this. I
Okay.
didn't think that's not the first thing that comes to my mind. So then what I've cried about more is all the love and support from my family and my friends. They check on me all the time. People have sent flowers. They've sent cards. They've sent boxes full of tea and face masks and journals. And people check on me all the time. So much so that I had to create a Facebook group because they didn't want to just know like my feelings. They
Update.
wanted to know about the doctor's appointments. When's the next one? What did they say? Call me. Like everybody wanted to know specifically what the doctors were saying as soon as I left. I'm like, I'm not doing this for like 50 people. I'm not doing
Right.
that. So I created a Facebook group um, around it. And so that's the thing that I cry about the most is like the love and support that I've been receiving from my community.
That's so beautiful. And I know that not everyone has that. And so you are so lucky. I mean, to have people reaching out. I love that you're like, okay, I'm not gonna text you all. I'm gonna make this Facebook group, do the updates. But I mean, that makes such a difference. I
Yes.
guess what would you like? Is there any advice you would give women who are where you're at, who just got diagnosed, who are about to like, because I mean, you are a therapist as well, and you're handling it so much better than I could ever have imagined or thought of. I mean, the thought process, the healthiness of the way you're looking at things. But
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give people who maybe they don't have, a background in therapy or they don't have a huge support system, I guess? What would you say?
So I would tell them that you don't have to be Superwoman at all. So when I received the diagnosis, my primary care physician called me. I remember on August the 1st, and I was
Mm.
actually out volunteering at a backpack drive for the NAACP in Texas with members of the Lone Star Texas chapter of the Links Incorporated. So we were actually like volunteering, handing out backpacks, handing out school supplies to people because they were driving through because of COVID and all this other stuff. And so I
Right.
got the call from my primary care physician and said, when she said that that the tumor is cancerous, and I was like, oh my gracious. So the first thing I did was call my husband to tell him, and he was
Mm-hmm.
like, when you get home, we'll like talk about this. Then I went and told the members that I was volunteering with, and they were just so supportive. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just went back to volunteering because my day wasn't over
Of
yet.
course you did. You are an angel. Oh my goodness.
And
You're an
so right. And then I text some of my family and my friends, and I called my mom to tell her. And then the very next day, I put a post on Facebook. Even though I'm usually not that open about my private life, it's just like fun
angel.
stuff that I put on there. But I knew that I was going to need all the prayers. I was going to need all the support
Mm-hmm.
and resources. So from day one, I was very open about this because this is not something that I have to do on my own. And I think that's what I would tell women, that you don't have to be Superwoman. Like, let your family, let your friends take care of you. Let them shoulder this burden with you. Let them like support you in a way that you've probably supported them when they were in need. Even though it can be annoying at sometimes when people bombard me with all the questions, I know it is out of love, and everybody wants to come and visit and take care. And I'm like, let me, like, when I start treatment, like, you all, I'll create a schedule where everybody can, like, folks can come during the week, and you just sign up when you want to come and help, like, because folks, they're just that loving, but we have to allow them to be that loving. And it's not something that we cause ourselves. So there's no need to be ashamed about it. It's no need to hold that in, because it is a lot to process. And I think you need that hope, and you need the reminder of the prayers or the love, just so you can just maintain your sanity and keep going with life. Because it's not, we might have to pause, but we're not going to let it stop our everyday life.
My gosh, I need you to do like a motivational like speech for me every day, because you are such an inspiration. I mean, you're volunteering, you're managing all these people that love you, because I can imagine that it becomes a lot. I mean, you have what you're thinking about inside your brain, and then you have, you know, people coming at you at all times, and they don't realize how many other people, you know, I mean, managing that all. And I mean, thank God you seem like you're handling it well, but it still doesn't mean that it's not hard. I wanted to share with you my grandma. I actually just lost her from something completely different, but she was a breast cancer survivor. She got it at 40 and she lived to be 83.
Oh, wow.
And she lived a long, happy life full of whiskey and laughing. And I just like, I have a good feeling about everything. And
Right.
I mean, it's got to play a factor into it, you know, your stress levels and how you treat your body. Have you changed anything, like the way you eat, or are you just kind of going with the flow?
So because I also have friends that have had a different type of cancer that were young, so I have started changing some of my diet. I'm trying to get more of my workout ins before the chemo starts, because I know that my body's going to be really tired. And so I cut down on some of the meat that I've been eating. I've been increasing my vegetable intake and some of like the quinoa and couscous, because I love those, some of those whole grains. And yeah, so yes, I have been, but then I also, because I am a high achiever per se, it bothers me.
Hello.
It bothers me that the cancer is influencing my life now, like going to all these doctor's appointments or interfering with the things that I'm trying to do. But I have to realize that I'm like, Deanna, like, you have to do this so you can stay alive, ma'am. It's okay.
Go
like, you
easy
can
on
let
yourself.
these things.
What would you tell a patient if they were like saying these things? You would be so much nicer to somebody else. You know, we're not very nice to ourselves sometimes. We're hard on ourselves, don't you think? I mean,
yes. And yes. And so that's what I have to have that conversation. And my friends and my husband have that conversation with me. They're like, Deanna, like, it's okay. Like, you can still do some of these things. And you know that when you operate at this mediocre level, it's not really mediocre. It's still good and excellent anyway. So just like, you'll be okay. Everybody will be okay. Like, I'm like, I know, but I'm like, Deanna, you have to stay alive. Okay. So you have to do these things. And I'm like, I know, I get it. But so I'm gonna decrease some of the things that I do so my schedule isn't so busy, because I know I'm gonna need to relax a lot, because my body's gonna have to fight a lot of this. So
if you want to watch reality TV, if you want to lay on the couch, if you want to, like, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself and give yourself as much patience as you would give, you know, one of your patients. I mean, I can't imagine, but I don't know. Like, you're handling this better than I handle like stubbing my toe. Like, I just can't. You're amazing. You're an inspiration. Seriously.
No, so like on Monday, we had this conversation about the chemo, because I was fighting, like, doing the chemo. Like, I was fighting it because I didn't.
Why am I not nice?
and it's more so because one of the consequences is infertility. And so I was crying all day Monday, because they were talking about this so it's a potential consequence. We don't know it for sure, but I'm like, I'm already 35. I don't have children yet, so it's not a good outlook for me. So I was crying all day Monday about that.
Gosh, see, that's something I didn't even know or think about. So I guess in terms of, you know, specifically breast cancer and being a woman, because I was going to ask you, what does that mean? Like, how is this cancer different in terms of, you know, your identity as a woman? And I mean, that's one way. I didn't even know that. So, I mean, freezing eggs an option, or what are the options, I guess,
Yes,
for women
so
going through the same thing?
I literally had an appointment. My husband and I had an appointment with the fertility specialist this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so
Okay.
that is one of the options, is to
Okay.
potentially either freeze my eggs or get them fertilized and then freeze the embryo. And so, but so this is the thing. So even though we might freeze them,
Mhm.
I'm still gonna have to be on some medication for at least like another year or two,
Okay.
which will not allow me to get pregnant. And they're like, so then depending, then we could take a break from the medication and then you can try and then we'll see. But then you have to get right back on the medication. So I have a small window, almost
Okay.
2 years from now, to actually potentially get pregnant. So
Okay. So you got a tough battle, but I feel like you can do it. And that, honestly, that's something that I didn't know. Is there anything else that comes along with this that you want to share with people, or something that we might not have thought of, like a side effect or something? Because gosh, I mean, breast cancer and then fertility, I mean, there's so much there, in addition to dealing with just the physical stuff. Is there anything else that
right.
that you were surprised to be dealing with, or that you didn't know?
I don't, so not yet. So we'll see what else
Okay.
comes up. So I think the fertility one was a really big one
I can
for
imagine. Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting the fatigue that would potentially come with the chemo. People tell me about the hair loss. I'm expecting that. I wasn't expecting the possibility of infertility. But there's also hope, because I have friends that have had chemo and they've still gotten pregnant, and had children. So there's
Mhm.
always like this hope.
Yeah, I'm thinking of
Mhm.
like 3 or 4 that I know. So, I mean, I just want you to know I'm praying for you. You
Mm,
know, all of I Heart Chicago is praying for you. You're
mm.
such, I mean, I will not forget speaking with you, because you're honestly, you're so inspiring to me, your attitude, your outlook. And it's just a reminder that everything else, other than your health, is just BS, for lack of a better word, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's what life is about: health and the people that reach out to you and love
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
you know? So I want to remind everyone that we are doing Sister Strut is live right now. We're strutting all month
Yes.
long. Yes, you can. People can donate up until October 31st, and that's at 1035kissfm.com/strut. And then if you do strut, you can tag us and you can hashtag Sister Strut. So we're just trying to create awareness and raise money, and honestly, like, share stories like yours to give people hope and create a community, that you can get through this. And we're praying for
Yes.
you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for talking to me. I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome.